As a movie enthusiast and physical media collector, there's a lot of times where there's movies that sometimes will come out, and then for whatever reason, this edition might get recalled, and it ends up becoming such a holy grail for physical media collectors, especially if that edition contains new material, or maybe that movie just doesn't see the light of day again. Now, I'm here to talk about 5 DVDs that were recalled or banned or taken off the shelves that were so sought after by collectors. Now, again, the reason I know this because I was there, I was in it. I remember when these movies went missing, and I remember looking at my collection like, oh my God, I'm so lucky I have these before it was recalled. Oh my God, I would love to get this to my collection. And now I just can't seem to find it, and eBay prices are going crazy. Now, we do see this a lot now with specific editions, maybe out-of-print editions. That's the big one, when something gets limited or goes out of print. And then when you can't get it anymore, people seem to want it even more. Now, let's rewind to the days of DVD. Now, these 5 from my collection are the ones that I think about first. Now, if you follow me over at the Anchor Bay Archives podcast, we talk all things physical media when it comes to Anchor Bay Entertainment. They were like the front runners in the late 90s and 2000s when it came to horror, sci-fi, and cult hits. Now, one of our last episodes, we did talk about one of the most sought-after box sets in physical media history because this was something that was taken off the shelves, kind of. Now, it was one of the most sought-after box sets of all time, and that is the Sleepaway Camp Red Cross box set. I don't want to get heavy into it. If you watched or listened to that podcast episode, we talk about the people that were involved in making this and what really happened. But they got in trouble for this because of the Red Cross. The Red Cross saw this and they said, you cannot do this anymore. So they had to quickly change to the survival kit. So see how they had to get rid of the Red Cross. I've talked about this in a standalone video. We did a full podcast on this edition. There isn't much more I need to say about this, but basically, as soon as that run was gone, this was replaced on the shelves. So the Red Cross edition became very sought after amongst collectors. Now, the next one I want to talk about, if you were collecting in the late 90s, you're going to remember this edition. It was recalled because of some footage that was put on this edition. Now, I'm kind of bummed out right now because I looked everywhere in my collection for this. I had it toted away. I could not find it before this video. But I want to talk about it. I know for a fact I either still have it or I sold it, but I did have this at the time, and it was the Little Shop of Horrors 1998 DVD. Now, what made this so special? It was recalled because they had a black and white version on this that was uncensored. The version that we had never seen before, but the problem was the quality was shit. And the director said, listen, I don't want this on the shelf. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right. And they pulled it and they gave us another edition instead without that uncensored footage. And it was really the only time that that was ever seen. But there was a run that came out first that I did have and other collectors did have. You can find this on eBay now for not much money at all. But at the time, this thing was going for big bucks. People wanted this edition. But since then, they have come out with stuff like this, where you do get that in a very, very nice quality. It's color. I mean, it's really, really cool if you have never seen the alternate ending for that movie. It's so different. It changes the whole tone of the movie. But at the time, that 1998 DVD was in a snapper case, was highly sought after because you finally got to see that footage for the first time. All right, the next one was a DVD from 2014. Now, this is kind of crazy. This was released and was recalled very quickly, so much so that people were rushing to the stores when they heard the news because they wanted this controversial release. And this was Wrong Turn 6. Now, I have 2 copies of this. This one is sealed. This, you're going to say to yourself, what's the problem here with Wrong Turn 6? Why was this recalled? Well, this image of this woman on the cover was actually a real-life missing person that they put on the cover for some odd reason. I'm not sure exactly why. So this was pulled completely because of that, and it was replaced with basically a similar image, except her face was kind of blurred out so you couldn't see it. But a wild story nonetheless. When this was announced, people were rushing to Walmarts and stuff like that, Best Buys, buying this edition and putting it up on eBay for big money. Now, again, I think you can get this pretty cheap now, but at the time, this thing was very sought after, especially because it was literally recalled and destroyed. So they had to kind of come up with something quick and re-release this thing to the masses. Now, let me know if you remember that controversy with Wrong Turn 6 and this image on the front, because like I said, this was one of those movies that people were just going nuts for because of the controversy, because it was getting recalled and they wanted to get their hands on this one-of-a-kind item. All right, this next one is a controversial one. This one is one that I've tried to avoid on a lot of videos, but I'm going to tell the story now because it is one of those movies that is highly sought after, or at least was, by horror collectors, especially around the time it came out, because it kind of came out and went, and people were like, where is this movie? Why is it nowhere to be found? And then we realized the stories behind this movie, and that is a movie called Clown House. Now, this is a release by MGM. Now, this was released, I found this at a store called Newberry Comics, and I knew nothing about this movie. I didn't even know that this was the same guy who made Jeepers Creepers. I knew nothing. I saw clowns, I saw horror, and I was like, I'm definitely picking this up. And at the time, I was buying a lot of these MGM titles because they had things like Killer Clowns and stuff, so I was like, you know what? Everything from MGM is good. This was in the horror section. I had never seen it before. It definitely looks like something up my alley. And when I watched it, to be quite honest with you, at the time, I was like, oh, it's a pretty cool like little home invasion movie. There was some suspect stuff in it. But, you know, when movies came out around that time, you always saw these weird kind of things in these movies. You just kind of look past it. Well, come to find out, there was a big lawsuit involving Victor Salva, who did do this movie, and the boy that was the main star of this movie. And as soon as those came out, as soon as the lawsuit hit, this thing was nowhere to be found. It was done. MGM wiped their hands of this release and this movie, and it was never seen again. Now, this is one that actually does go for big money still. There's a lot of bootlegs and stuff out there, but I don't think anybody's going to ever touch this movie again just due to the backstory regarding it. And it's very gross. It's disturbing. But like I said, when I bought this at the time, I knew nothing about this story or controversy. I didn't even know that this was the same dude who did Jeepers Creepers. And at the time, I don't even think that story was out to the public. And I think it was after this release, shortly after this release, is when things started to hit the fan, because the boy saw that this was released, and that's where things kind of got a little bit wild. As far as I remember, all I know is I found it, bought it, watched it, threw it in my collection, and then within months you started hearing things about it, and this movie was just nowhere to be found again. So I don't know how many people out there own an original Clown House DVD. You kind of had to be there because, like I said, this thing came and went, and I don't think it's ever going to be released again. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about was another MGM title. This was one that got pulled and recalled as well, and this was Swamp Thing. The Wes Craven Swamp Thing with David Hess. You're going to be like, what the hell was wrong with Swamp Thing? I've got Swamp Thing. What was wrong with it? It's this edition right here. If you check out the back, it was marked as a PG movie. Swamp Thing was a PG movie. Parents were buying this for their kids. And when they saw Adrienne Barbeau topless, they freaked out and they realized, what the heck? This was rated PG. Why is there nudity on this thing? And they quickly had to recall this and put it back out. So what they had to do was they recalled this and they put on the US theatrical cut, the one that did not have the nudity in it. So this was like the longer cut on this one. I believe that's the story. I think they had to re-release it with the right cut of the movie. I don't think they changed the rating or anything. I think they just released the cut of the movie without that nudity. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but this was one that was heavily sought after amongst horror collectors, DVD collectors, physical media collectors. Now, I haven't checked this one on eBay at all. I'm sure it's probably not expensive, only because we have gotten both versions since then. But yeah, this was one that everybody wanted to get their hands on because it was marked as PG and it was the unrated cut. So, guys, that was 5 movies that were recalled and heavily sought after back in the day amongst DVD collectors. Let me know down below, did you own any of these movies? And like I said, as soon as I'm done this video, I guarantee I come across that Little Shop of Horrors DVD and I'm going to be so pissed because I literally was like pulling some totes out trying to find it. And I bet it's in one of the totes I haven't checked. But anyway, let me know down below, did you have any of these? Do you remember these? And is there any other movies similar to this that could be added to this list? So guys, thank you for checking this out. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this content. Hit that subscribe button if you like anything movies, nostalgia, and collecting. This is Garrett at Born to be Rad, and like always, stay